Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Things That Matter with me, Marty McNabb. So, if you've been following me for the last 3.5 years, and if you haven't, welcome. This show is all about the things that we surround ourselves with, the things we adorn ourselves with, the things we keep, the things that matter, and the things that we will leave behind when we're gone. And the reason why I'm so in love with hearing stories about the things that matter because I have found in over 400 events that I've hosted both in person and virtually that even if you know someone quite well and you think that you know them quite well, you would be surprised the information that you get, the stories that you get about things that are just around our homes and our spaces. It's just amazing. In our drawers, in our backpacks, in our suitcases, in our storage units, in our attics, basements. It's just full of souvenirs of our lives. And it's our museums, and I never fail to I never tire from hearing these stories. So anyway, welcome to this episode. And as I always do, I introduce my guests by saying a little bit about how we met. So, John McKenzie, also known as John the Traveler or the Curious Traveler, always curious, always curious. We met in 2020, I think, originally on Location Indie. If you've been following along, you've heard that name before. It's an online community, or was an online community, that has now switched to the Indie Life Collective. But it is a group of people who are looking for to shape their lives in an untraditional way, a unique and individual way. But what I love about that community is that it's not all van lifers, it's not all schoolies, it's not all full-time travelers, it's not all people who are entrepreneurs. Some people work for a company and they're just remote workers, and they move around the world based on however they're able to do it. They're just trying to live a life that combines some freedom from a cubicle. And that's probably a wonderful place to introduce John and have him take it away a little bit. Because at Camp Indie, which you've also heard about here, was when I first ended up really getting to know John and getting to know a little bit more of his life. And I was there in 2021 when he ended up being encouraged to take that next leap of faith, which he did. Therefore, John the Traveler, John the Curious Traveler. And so, without further ado, as everybody who's been following along know, the first section is, of course, the show and tell section, like elementary school, but this is for all ages. So, without further ado, I am going to turn the stage over to you, John, and welcome. Thanks so much. I'm glad that we were able to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marty. It's great to finally do this. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and my mostly my fault trying to get my schedule organized. But we're here. It's a new year. We're starting fresh. So we met in person at that first Camp Indie where I embarked on this journey of really finding my true purpose, which is to encourage people to be more curious. And when we talked about what the things that matter for me, there's a lot that I could have chosen. Um, it was maybe that's part of why it took me so long to to kind of pin down a date, but really just thought about something that encapsulated what really holds close to my heart, and of course that is travel. But what better symbol to represent places and travel experience than a passport. So in my life, I have five passports representing, for the most part, they're 10 year. Usually they're 10 years in duration, but I have an extra one that I'll explain in a minute. But I thought I would go through these, and they're filled with all sorts of passport stamps, and each I could tell a story about each one that we would never have time for. So I thought I'd pick one passport stamp and just kind of give a brief story of why that is important to me. So without further ado, we will start with passport number one. Let's see, the date, it was issued in 1994. But I didn't really use it until the next year. So you can see this is for Canada. It was my first passport stamp, and the second country that I was in outside of the US, but the first one I didn't need a passport for. That's how old I am. But this particular stamp was an impulse road trip that some friends and I decided to go on a holiday weekend during college. So we just went straight north from where I was living in Kansas and going to college at Kansas State University, and went straight up to Winnipeg, and that was the border crossing. So it represented this fun, exciting, last minute energy. And that was such a fun trip too. We met people from, local people there, a couple other people that were traveling. It was one of those perfect serendipitous moments. So I thought that's a perfect first passport stamp, but also a good little story to associate with that. So passport number one. And passport number two, this one is a special passport because after college, I had joined the Peace Corps, and I spent 2 years in Uzbekistan, and I was teaching English there. So Peace Corps gives people a special passport. It's a 5-year passport, and some people don't even have a passport when they join the Peace Corps. So for me, I already had one, but this one was specific for getting the visa for Uzbekistan, which is passport stamp number two. So this was my first visa for Uzbekistan in 1997. So and I was there for 2 years, so I had to have more visas, but this particular one was the very first one. Arriving in the country in the middle of the night, having to show this, and then embarking on this journey that would, of course, completely change my life. Living 2 years in another country, especially a country like that, it was still relatively new in terms of having previously been part of the Soviet Union, living with a family for a year, teaching English, speaking the language there. Definitely a transformational experience in my life, and I think anybody that's been in the Peace Corps would agree that it's definitely a impactful. So that seemed very, very logical for my second passport stamp. A second one that I'm sharing. I didn't count how many stamps I have in total. That would take a while too. All right, so now passport number three, and the stamp on that one. So just to kind of recap where we are with the year, this passport was 2004 to 2014. So I had a lot of travels in there and trying to figure out, well, which one will I share? But I decided another impactful moment or year for me was 2011, when I had been working at a place that I got to go on. I had a lot of vacation days, and I got to choose where I went, whereas previous jobs I might have just taken vacation days and added them on to business trips. This time I didn't travel for work, so I got to pick my own destinations. And I decided I want to go to every continent. There's only seven. How hard can it be, right? Um, so the the kind of the impetus of that was I hadn't been to Africa, so I wanted to go to Africa. Um, After some research, I ended up going and getting my visa for Ghana. So this is my first African visa and passport stamp. I also went to two other countries on that trip, but yeah, it was. I think it was good for 3 years, and I thought, oh, I should go back, but I ended up not making it back. But yeah, it was an interesting experience also to just go and bring the passport to the various embassies and talk to them and wait to get it to come back. So anyway, very important. Africa, first trip to Africa. Okay, next one we're going to, let's see, yeah, this one then would be 2014 to 2024. So we're getting recent. This was a tough one to decide which. I guess I could share two since this is they're two different ones. So yeah, we'll do we'll do that. But this was the completion of that continental quest, as I called it. So I did go to Antarctica in 2023. They don't have a stamp there because there's no place that stamps your passport. I do have a stamp from the Falkland Islands, which was on that same trip. And I also have, it's not very visible. It's kind of boring, but it's a round stamp from the island of South Georgia, which is part of the United Kingdom. Both Falkland Islands and South Georgia are associated with the United Kingdom, but South Georgia is where you see all the penguins. So that represents my Antarctica quest. But the one that I really wanted to share was probably the riskiest place that I decided to go. And so therefore, having an actual stamp from this place proves that I was indeed there and I took this risk, and that is Mogadishu, Somalia. And I would not have gone there had it not been for another event that I went to the year before in Armenia. I went to the Extraordinary Travel Festival and met people that traveled, either have traveled or are planning to travel to every country in the world. And that just blew my mind. So that really was a big turning point for me to get me to think, well, now that I've gone to all of the continents, I mean, there's always places to travel, but it just broadened my horizons a little bit more, and yeah, got me to go to a place that I would probably not have gone had I not went to that event. So now we come to the current time frame. So my current passport is I just got it in 2024, so it's still valid for another until 2034, which sounds so futuristic. But I hope to fill it up. I don't have quite as many stamps here, but I probably have more in this already than I did in my very first passport, because I have prioritized travel, especially this past year. And the stamp that I wanted to share here is for Syria. So it doesn't say Syria in English, but this one here represents my entry into the Syrian Arab Republic in April of 2025. And I include that because it represents a couple things. One, I had no plans to go to Syria at the beginning of 2025, but just some things got me thinking of how how things change so fast. In December, Syria's government changed. The dictatorship that was there for quite some time was overthrown. And I saw the news and how history was just changing so fast there. So many unknowns. And I saw a couple people started to go there, and I just felt an urgency of I want to see history take place in a place like that because it's rare that you have that opportunity. So I decided with that confidence from the Extraordinary Travel Festival, I which I had gone to a second one in the previous year. I decided to go. I did go with a group, but I went to Syria, and it was I'd even had a dream about Syria before. So there was something really connecting me to Syria that was a very impactful trip, and it kind of laid the groundwork for me to finally admit or commit to trying to travel to every country in the world because I've always been interested, I've always been curious, and I've always felt a connection of some sort, maybe through my stamp collection, which I could have also shared, but the kind of connecting those places that I used to see in the stamp album or on an atlas or a map, and then making them real. That's kind of what these stamps represent. Unfortunately, a lot of countries are no longer doing actual stamps, so it's become a little bit more challenging to fulfill this, I guess, this hobby of collecting passport stamps. But I'll do the best I can, and certainly taking pictures and getting other things will suffice. But yeah, this is kind of hopefully still the beginning of what will be a full passport, and maybe I'll need to even get another passport before this expires, as I have heard travelers do who go
Mhm.
to a lot of places.
Cool.
So yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is amazing. That is just amazing. And when you're talking about the stamps, it's sort of like, people talking about, holding on to concert tickets, right?
Mhm.
You can see behind me over here a concert ticket, and obviously letters and cards, handwritten letters and cards, and you know, the tangible stuff that has is changing. But you've collected a lot. It would be interesting. Maybe you could make it a mission to count how many stamps you have and let me know so I can add it to the show notes.
Yeah, yeah.
How many you actually really have. So thank you so much for coming and showing those and curating so nicely. And I love how the first one was just a spur of the moment. You're being curious, spur of the moment, just going up to Canada. And also as you wrapped up, talking about how being, like that desire to be in a place that is changing so rapidly and how history is changing. I mean, needless to say, we are experiencing a similar thing here in the United States. And so it's important to like have a documentation of it. And it's like, I think, needless to say, the work that I do and have done for over 30 years is personal history. And there a lot of people, a lot of historians kind of didn't like the people getting into personal history, but personal history people have to remind history people that there is no such thing as history without people. So, and there would be nothing in museums or historical societies if it weren't for people keeping things that matter and have stories. And I'm just so grateful that the Marie Kondo and thing and the minimalist thing didn't take hold so
Mhm.
strongly. Um, before the Museum of African American History was started, and all the other history things, and that's what I love about the work that you do as well, is that the curiosity, and you're starting off with your stamp collection as a young man, that ended up leading you to the curiosity about, like really traveling to those countries, and then curiosity about the history of these countries, because I know that whenever I've talked to you and you've talked about different places, you bring an artifact usually, or you have a photo with an artifact, and you tell the story of that. And so that's what is so wonderful about your curiosity is, and your sharing of the information from all these travels that you've taken. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to turn. Oh, well, one last question, and then I'll turn the stage over. My always follow up question is: have you considered what you'd like to have happen with these things that matter when you are dead and gone?
Yeah, I mean, with passports, it's interesting. I think I would probably want to offer maybe some close family members, if they would like to keep them. Um, Another opportunity, I mean, this is kind of hopefully I'll live a little longer to be able to do this, but I would, with all this stuff that I have collected over the years, I'm not getting as much stuff these days when I travel, but I would like to have like some sort of museum, or even if it's a little tiny piece of my, somewhere in my hometown to um, just show that, somebody from a tiny little town in rural Kansas can go to all of these places. And I think that's really what kind of the inspiration for me to even do what I'm doing, is to kind of look back at my, 5, 6, 7 year old self collecting stamps, and then actually say like, yeah, you can go to those places. There's nothing holding you back from that. So,
Uh,
um, I would, yeah, I'm hoping that I can have some sort of museum, whether it's my hometown museum or something that,
yeah,
that will showcase those. And maybe passport stamps will be uh, an antique by the time that
that
happens, the way
happens.
it's going. So we'll see.
I see it being a traveling museum, like an exhibition
Yeah.
that can travel, because that's that story of,
Mhm.
you know, um,
Right.
a young child, that kind of that dream. um, you can make dreams come true. And needless to say, I think the thing that we both love about the location indie community and the community of people who travel is that it opens up our minds, our hearts, and our souls to humanity, um, and yeah, loving loving this world and the diversity and the differences. So that's powerful. So anyway, I look forward to that. I look forward to being around to see that, and maybe we'd travel together. Things that matter.
Yes. Ooh, road show, road trip.
The
Say no
road.
more. Did I hear travel?
Yes, yes. We can have side by side exhibitions. Mine's going to be called Martifacts. Um, I just did my first solo episode that went out yesterday. So again, Happy New Year. Not really sure when this is going to air. Sure, it's going to be in the spring. But again, without further ado, I'm going to turn over the stage and let you tell my look and listeners a little bit more about the work that you do and how they can follow and find out more information about you and connect with you after this podcast. And of course, all of this will be in the show notes as well. So without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, so I really want to encourage people to just be more curious and take that little tiny step towards something that's maybe not familiar or just outside of your comfort zone. I like to say expand your comfort zone, not necessarily go outside of it, because that sounds scary, right? Just step, just do little things to expand it. But one way that I've started to do that, it started in 2025, so it's still relatively new, but I offer what I'm calling curiosity trips. So the idea is to have a group trip, small group trip to explore not all the tourist attractions. There's some time in these trips that I would encourage people to go see the tourist attractions, because even though they might be touristy, they're still worth seeing oftentimes. But what I really want to do and get people to do is kind of go off the beaten track and explore neighborhoods and culture and try foods they're not familiar with and connect with the people and just be a little bit more inquisitive. Find something that you're interested in and go do it. So there's these trips are organized with I'd say anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 4 curated things per day. So maybe a group meal, maybe an excursion to an event or something, maybe some ice cream or a tasting, things like that. And then I like to have some free time where people, if they choose to, they can go off on their own or maybe with a new friend that they've met on, other people on the trip. Or if they don't want to do that, I will have a bit of an itinerary that I've kind of just whipped up and say, okay, well, I'm curious about going and exploring this neighborhood. Who wants to come with me? So that, and then maybe we'll change our mind on the way, because maybe we'll see, a mariachi band playing down the street and just in the middle of the street. And we're like, what's going on there? Let's go check it out. Or maybe we walk past another, performance in a park or any sort of things. Maybe we have a 20-minute conversation with someone in a storefront, and we want to be able to make time for those things because yes, you go to see the sights and eat some of the food, but I find in especially going to places that are a little bit more off the beaten track, that's where the memories come from, those encounters with people. um, and how they light up when you engage with them. So that's just part of what I've started offering with these curiosity trips. And we'll have, I'm hoping to have at least 4 this in 2026. We'll have a Washington D.C. one in May because we have an embassy open house, so you can actually get a fake passport there and get your passport stamped at all the embassies in DC there that we can make it to in a day. Anyway, that is one big thing I'm working on this year as well. But stay tuned. I'm hoping for more things to come. My website's probably the best place to reach me. I would love it if you signed up for my newsletter. So you can reach me at johnthetraveler.com. That's John the Traveler with 1 L .com. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at John the Curious Traveler. So those are ways that you can reach me, and my contact information and everything you can find on there. So I would love to connect with anyone. I do customized curiosity trips too. So if you are wanting a small group of your own, or just, hey, I could do solo as well, pretty much anywhere, whether I've been there or not, that is, I approach places very similarly in that I look for things to do and I create itineraries, and I have been able to do that whether I've been to a place or not. But so reach out and find out more from my website and join my newsletter, please. It's monthly.
Yay. Wonderful. Yes. Yes, I highly recommend it. Um, I have yet to go on one of the trips, the Curiosity trips, but it will happen. I was lucky enough to be in DC this last October and got a chance to meet up with John and Mark and some other friends in the DC area, and just hanging out with him is just a, a fun time and an interesting time, and you laugh a lot and learn a lot, and those are the best combinations, laughing and learning. So instead of lunch and learn, it should be laugh and learn. And that's with John the Traveler. So yes, thank you so much, John, for joining me and sharing your great things that matter, your passports. I think there's a lot of people that would also agree with you that that would be the thing they bring to a show and tales, or to to be on the podcast, for similar reasons, that it's a dream, and it's connected them to the world and to themselves. And so thank you so much. And for everyone else who's looking and listening to this episode, I encourage you, again, like I always do, to look around your space, look around on your person, and, think about, needless to say, not all of us have 5 passports with hundreds of stamps. We don't have to travel far. We can travel deep. We can travel through history. We can travel through our ancestors. There's lots of ways that we can travel. And so I just encourage you to look around your space at the things that you keep, the things that matter, and make sure that you share those stories, because it isn't that things matter, really. It's the stories that get attached to them that often do. So go out, think about that. Ask your friends about the things that are behind them, your family. You go for a visit, you're even on a Zoom call, and you're like, tell me what that, candlestick is. What is that? I've seen it every time. Like, be curious. Be curious, like John says. Be curious about the things that your family and friends have and what you have, and tell stories, because it's all about the stories and the connections that they make. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. And thanks again, John, for being my guest.
Thank you. It was
Have,
fun.
good. All right. That's what I hope. And have a great rest of your day, or evening or morning, everyone who's listening. Take good care. Bye.